Charles F. Kettering quoted, "Every father should remember one day his son will follow his example, not his advice." Sometimes in life, the example that is set may be genuine to yourself, but a distraction to others.
But you have said that if the right team does not pick him, that you will intervene.
That's my son. It's almost like you got a child that's going into an occupation that you already dominated in. Like, come on. And you don't think I'm not gonna sit there like a navigational system and tell him, take a right there, take a left right there, take a, not that, not that, oh, no. Like, that's who I'm called to do. That's my son. I'm not gonna let my son get down in no foolishness.
But you and I both know these coaches, these owners, right? You've been in the rooms.
Right.
The owners, billionaire owners,
yes, will
often say, well, this is a young man who should be making his own decisions. You know, he's got this helicopter dad.
Not my son. And we ain't in no helicopter. Yeah. We definitely ain't in no helicopter.
Giants are you're in the. So have you told him privately who you would like for him to play for?
It's not like that.
Okay.
Like, it's not like who I would like for him to play for. It's a couple teams that I won't allow him to play for. So it's not like that. But this is my profession. I know what's behind the curtain. We ain't got to get back there for me to understand what's behind the curtain and what's not prominent for my son. I'm not doing it. Ain't
and
no
if he
in the
doesn't
world.
listen to you?
Who? You must mean owners, like not my son. Like, my son knows my voice and he understands that I've done this and done that. Like, my kids respect their father because they know their father ain't perfect, but their father's always been present.
At one point, maybe really early, at another point early in the second round, and then here it comes in the fifth round finally. Shedeur Sanders, Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year, set a Colorado record with 37 touchdown passes. Helped revitalize that Colorado program along with Travis Hunter. And in this draft process, he's been most unusual. Started at Jackson State playing for Deion Sanders at the FCS level, then transferred up.
The thing about Colorado, he didn't have an offensive line in 2023, and then this past year, really both years, not much of a running game at all. Okay, guys like Marion Hampton and Ashton Genty had more rushing yards in a game and a half than their top rusher did all year. But you look at the accurate, precise passing. One thing to be accurate, another to be precise. Shedeur Sanders is. When he's getting pressured, he has that feel, and he will take a little off, and he will layer throws. A lot of college quarterbacks don't do that. He already gets that element of playing quarterback, which you will have to be in the NFL. The deep ball accuracy, he showed it at the Combine, he showed it at Colorado, he showed it at Jackson State. The ability to slip and slide. Yeah, he's not going to run a 4.6, but within the pocket, just give the kid a fighting chance. Colorado rarely did. When he had an opportunity, you saw this strike there to Will Shepherd. Again, there were games like Oregon where he had no shot. Here he avoided the initial pass rusher. He rolled right, he made a throw. This fact he's like, just out there just talking, he's not athletic, it's a bunch of BS. It's not true. This kid can avoid, he can move, and he can make throws against his body like this. Key play against Baylor in that football game, Lou. I don't get it. I know you don't, but here we are in the fifth round. Cleveland Browns get a guy who should have been, in my opinion, a first-round pick, a high first-round pick. And you look at the sliders, right? The guys that have slid. The NFL gets it. They know everything. No, they don't, because the guys that have slid have done really well. Geno got into the second round. He's doing pretty well, right? Jimmy Clausen, Brady Quinn didn't, but then there's Aaron Rodgers. Chad Pennington went 18. Brett Favre, second round. Boomer Esiason, second round. Dan Marino, late first round, and now you have a situation with Shedeur dropping to the fifth round. Tom Brady, everybody said, okay, he was what, a sixth round pick. When Tom Brady was drafted, there was a quarterback that went 18th. That was Chad Pennington. A quarterback went in the third round. That was Giovanni Farmazzi from Hopkins. When Tom Brady got there, what did he tell Robert Kraft? They told him, hey, you're our sixth round pick. He said, yeah, you're the best decision your organization's ever made than me, right? So we're talking about, are you confident, cocky, are you arrogant, or are you charismatic? There's that fine line there.
I think the NFL sent the message. And the message that was sent was, you are not that guy. Or, as people like to say, you are not him. Because what I've seen and what many folks have seen year after year after year, if you have that type of talent, regardless of off the field, interviews, guess what? You're going to get picked high because the NFL teams are in the winning business. They're not in the business of allowing elite talent to just continue to fall. It just doesn't happen that way. Do we see guys slip some? Absolutely. We've seen guys have egregious things in their background where they might slip, but ultimately the NFL is in a talent acquisition business. If they feel like a guy can help us win right now, they're not going to sit there and pass over a guy time after time after time.
Boomer Esiason was not happy when he was a second-round pick. Tom Brady was not happy. They dropped. How'd they turn out?
And you know what? My point, nobody's arguing that can happen.
Reese, the NFL has been clueless for 50 years when it comes to evaluating quarterback. Clueless. They have no idea what they're doing in terms of evaluating quarterback. That's proof. There's proof of that.
How many
times? They say we know exactly what we're talking about with quarterback. They don't.
Nobody's batted 1,000 there, though.
That's correct.
Right? I mean, I think that's
all that matters now is what happens going forward. We talk about it all the time. There is the evaluation phase, there's the evaluation and selection phase, which we're in right now, and then there's the development and implementation phase. That's where we're heading to right now. That's all that matters for him. Kevin Stefanski, Andrew Berry,
and Lou.
Have at it.
Quarterbacks now, and Reese, you know it well as anybody, college kids now are getting paid. They're professional. They're getting paid. They're commercials. They're out there. You got to deal with that. If you're the NFL, you got to deal with that. Okay? He's saying whatever he's saying behind closed doors. What's he saying? I want to be the guy. I should be this. I should be that. Deion saying he's the best player in the draft. He's best quarterback, second best to Travis Hunter. Best quarterback. Who is it? What quarterback out there didn't think they should have been a high first-round pick?
Again, nobody's criticizing what happened. We're saying he has to deal with the reality of the result from it.
All right.
That's all.
Pick 140.
Shedeur Sanders, everybody wishes.
I'm gonna start with this, which I talked about on my own YouTube, pod this weekend, is that when a guy does fall and you're seeking answers for it, you start going back and examining things, and things also start to surface after the first round. Stories start to surface that were not talked about pre-first round. Clearly, the interviews were worse than, it wasn't just a story that bothered people. It was true, and there were more than one instance of a bad interview. But I had said this too, is that once you didn't see Shedeur Sanders as a starter, because of the smoke and noise around him, with Deion basically, his dad at Super Bowl week saying, we're going to control this, there are certain teams we're not going to play for, Travis is going to go 1, my son's going to go 3, that I did wonder, John, like the Tebow or Cam Newton effect. If he's not the starter, do you want the Deion noise as a backup for a year?
What he didn't realize is the guys that have fallen in the draft before, they all had unusual traits. Like they had some superstar qualities to them. Now, some other things happened that made them fall, but Shedeur and his family, they overplayed their hand. Them thinking that he was in the same evaluation mode as Eli Manning, they didn't play that right. Them trying to narrow the teams that he was going to go to, that didn't do right. Not working out the combine, that wasn't the right thing. His interview process, obviously he could have done a lot better in that. Mm-hmm. A lot of people left that meeting, felt he was very, very entitled.
Which meet? Like, because they said Brian DeBall, the Giants coach, had said he didn't like the meet, and he asked him, he had some book, was his playbook or something he was supposed to know, and he said he felt weird about it. I don't know who else said they didn't like the meeting with him. Or were just people behind the scenes saying they did?
Well, the thing about it, they didn't draft him.
I know that.
So it's not the tape.
Okay. Because the tape's good enough to get drafted early enough.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, his tape is good enough for him to be a first rounder. But there's a number of things. It's not one thing. Last year when Deion interviewed for the Dallas Cowboys job, that did not help Shedeur. Now, it helped Deion get a new contract in Colorado, but long-term it didn't help Shedeur because the Giants, their coach in their last year, general manager in their last year. If they struggle, the Giants potentially, an option would be look at Deion as the head coach. So why would I draft a kid? Like, they missed out on that. Like, they obviously they didn't think this all the way through. And I think there were a number of teams that had that in the back of their mind, and they don't believe his talent is generational.
Yes, Shedeur Sanders had first-round talent and broken records in the FBS as far as the all-time highest completion percentage in history at 71.8% and setting single-season school records for passing yards at 4,134 yards, completion percentage at 74%, and touchdown to interception ratio at 9-1, while playing behind an offensive line that was ranked 6th worst in the FBS behind Southern Miss, Virginia, Florida State, Cal, and Oklahoma in 2024. His mobility, arm strength, and other intangibles are still in question.
Some people felt like he didn't take the process seriously. Some people felt like they called him on it, didn't respond well. All those reports that are out there. I wasn't in the room, but I can only go by like what I hear and how you kind of put it together. And some of the conversations that I had wasn't great. And so now that part isn't great. So when we look back and we talk about the process, what was great about his process? The talent was good, but the process was terrible. So now if the process is terrible and we know we don't play a game from the end of the season to the draft, you've now failed the areas that create an opportunity for you to build momentum heading into the draft. Think about this as being a civilian going for a regular job. Well, when we go for a regular job, we've always been taught, hey, put on your blue suit, make sure you have your tie there, show up early, research the company that you're interviewing with, make sure you know who your boss is, make sure you know any other people that you might interview with, any touch points, have a little information on them. Because what you want to do is you want to put your best foot forward and make them feel comfortable about bringing you on board. Shedeur Sanders didn't make them feel comfortable about him coming on board.
Universal understanding that this is our league, and we want to do what we want to do the way that we want to do it. And we'll be damned if anybody's going to tell us what to do, because guess what? We running the show, and people going to come. They're going to flock to the stadium. They're going to have their tailgate parties. We going to win in the ratings. We going to make damn near $250 million a piece as an owner. Ain't a damn thing anybody's going to do about it. We understood that years ago, but suddenly we going to engage in collective amnesia here. Hold on, Molly, because this is very important. Primetime Deion Sanders' hands are not clean in this. Shedeur Sanders' hands are not clean on this. If you go into an interview and people thinking that you brash and arrogant and what have you, and they think that they're going to have a problem working with you, that's partially on you. Primetime Deion Sanders going out publicly and stating on the record, there's a couple of teams we might not want him with. And he ain't going there if we going to get him, if they're going to select him. And he's on Tamron Hall's show, and she's like, what if your son don't listen? He said, who? What? Like, that ain't going to happen. You look at NFL teams, along with the specter of people potentially calling for him to be the next coach, you can understand the reticence.
You can get him to understand that real fast. I know you've heard his interviews.
Let me tell you what he understands today.
Okay.
He ain't running shit. Okay?
Yeah.
Let me tell you what. They taught him a great lesson.
Okay.
Like, you don't have this figured out. Your dad don't have this figured out.
Who's they? NFL?
Shedeur?
The world? No, who taught? You said they taught him. I'm just curious. Like,
well, the system.
The system. Okay,
There's a system out there, man.
Okay.
Like, you're going for a job interview. So for his job interview, he was so concerned about, what his outfit was. His necklace was over $100,000. Like, he hadn't even convinced people that you're the face of our franchise. Matter of fact, he had convinced people that they were better off going in a different direction, even with people who had lesser talent. That's the rub he put on the people.
In this year NFL draft, it was more of supply and demand, where a lot of teams took care of their quarterback situation in the offseason. So when you look at the draft going into it, there was only 4 teams that was a destination for Shedeur, in which Tennessee took Cam Ward. Then you had the New York Giants and the New Orleans Saints, in which addressed their need on defense and offensive line. So there was not another team until the Pittsburgh Steelers at 21. And when they went in the direction of a position player over quarterback, that then left Shedeur out. And even though the Giants traded back up in the first round to get Jackson Dart, they're looking more into a mobile quarterback there that fit their eyes of a Josh Allen, and Shedeur is nothing in fit or playing wise like a Josh Allen. Neither does Jackson Dart, but have a bit of similar trait to it.
I would say from what I've heard, he had one of the worst off seasons that these teams have ever seen from a quarterback prospect. And that could be from a first rounder to a seventh rounder, because they're all, they all act, you are a product of your class, right? So if I'm a good looking girl and I walk into a bar and there are 10 supermodels, I'm not going to be viewed as highly as if I walk into a room with a bunch of ugly people. And in this class, it was a bunch of high-level cats. Cam Ward, I know people with the Titans. They loved him. Drew Brees said this a long time ago. Playing quarterback is like 70-30, intangible, off the field, upstairs, 30 my physical qualities. Peyton Manning couldn't beat me or you in a race. He didn't have a big arm. Tom Brady said, I couldn't play any other position in high school football beside quarterback. So this class, from Jalen Milroe, people love the guy. Dylan Gabriel, he had to be one of the favorites when it came to the coaching staffs. Obviously, the Will Howards, the Riley Leonards. These guys are the most impressive people of the entire draft when these coaches and these GMs are meeting with them. They leave the room, and these coaches go, God, I wish Riley Leonard and Will Howard were better players. Because they get drafted in the 5th, 6th, 7th round. Most people think, he's probably not going to be in the NFL long, but we love the guy. And Shedeur's off the field is not bad. Never been in trouble or anything. But when you act, there are only so many teams, right? It's a supply-demand thing. Well, 6 teams last year drafted quarterbacks in the top 6. They're immediately out. There are several quarterbacks on rookie contracts. They're not going to be in the mix. And then the veteran teams, Andy Reid, the Bills, the Ravens, they're just consumed with trying to win the Super Bowl right now. So it's a small group, right? So the small group, those were the people he met with and clearly turned them off. And McShay's been coming out with this report. What happened with the Giants of like, I don't need you, that never happens. And I think it's become popular because if you look at these comments online, it's like, go against the establishment, go against the man. It's like, guys, this is a business that if you're decent, you will make $40 million a year. Find me another industry that pays that level. And if you're like Cam Ward, who was viewed as a 5th round pick, comes back, does all the right things, plays well, people love the guy. He's a 1st round pick. He's going to get $40 million guaranteed. So if he stinks, if he's terrible, Trey Lance is a good example. People love the guy, couldn't play, but he made $40 million. So to carry yourself, listen, we all look up to our parents, right, or whoever raises us, and he looks up to his dad. His dad is one of the greatest players of all time. And his dad can act however he wants, just like great players can always act however they want, because in a business like pro sports, there's only so many of them. His son was not that, and I think that really turned people off.
And overall, Shedeur got drafted in the 5th round by the Cleveland Browns, but let's also understand that the Cleveland Browns have drafted Dylan Gabriel as well in the 3rd round. So it seems that he happy, but it also begged the questions of more questions than answers. Like, why would you draft a quarterback after you drafted another one in the previous rounds of the draft? What are the intentions and plans with Shedeur? Is he your future or trade bait? Are you doing it to create more attendance to the games? Is he going to start, in which sports media is already asking that question, what you will do when Deshaun come back? He is owed $46 million over the next 2 years. It's just a lot more questions than answers. So, what do you think? Let your open thoughts be heard and your closed thoughts be seen below. Thank you, and see you in another round.